There is a painting so large, it barely fits inside its own museum, one of the most studied works in art history. And yet, in 2019, a team of scientists discovered they had never actually seen parts of it properly at all. Not because it was hidden away, but because centuries of grime, old varnish, and Rembrandt's own second thoughts had been sitting there in plain sight, undetected, for almost 400 years. When researchers finally looked closely enough, they found a soldier's helmet that used to look completely different, a dog that had quietly vanished from view over time, and evidence of the artist's own hand pressed directly into paint. But to understand how something this size could hide secrets for 4 centuries, we first need to understand the scale of what was being examined. This is the Night Watch, painted by Rembrandt van Rijn in 1642. It hangs in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, where it has been the museum's single most famous painting since the 19th century. The painting is enormous, nearly 12 feet tall and over 14 feet wide, depicting a civic militia company, frozen mid-motion, stepping out of formation as if the viewer had just walked in on them. It's considered one of the defining achievements of the Dutch Golden Age, and by the 20th century, it had already survived being slashed by a knife-wielding attacker not once, but twice, plus a botched trimming in 1715 when the painting was cut down on all 4 sides, just to fit between 2 doors in Amsterdam's town hall. Despite all of this attention and damage, the Rijksmuseum's own director admitted that after 17 years working there, he had genuinely never seen the top of the painting properly. So, in July 2019, the museum launched Operation Night Watch, an unprecedented restoration project conducted entirely in public, inside a specially built glass chamber, live-streamed for anyone in the world to watch. The first major breakthrough came from a technique called macro X-ray fluorescence scanning, which allowed researchers to detect a specific chalk pigment hidden in Rembrandt's underlying paint layer, something no one had been able to isolate in earlier examinations from the 1970s. Piecing this chalk signature together produced what the team nicknamed a calcium map, essentially a ghost image of Rembrandt's original preparatory sketch, laid directly onto the canvas before a single visible brushstroke was applied. This alone confirmed something scholars had long suspected, but never been able to prove. Rembrandt didn't improvise this composition freely. He planned it first, in careful detail, then adjusted as he worked. And the adjustments themselves turned out to be the most revealing part. The scans showed that Rembrandt had originally sketched several long spears rising above the heads of the militia company, later removing them from the final composition entirely. Elsewhere, on the elaborate helmet worn by the militiaman Claus van Kruisbergen, the imaging revealed that Rembrandt had first painted a set of decorative feathers rising from the top, then deliberately painted over them, stripping the helmet back down to a plainer design in the finished work. These aren't dramatic reveals in the way a hidden face or a lost figure would be. There's something quieter and arguably more valuable. A direct look at Rembrandt mid-decision, changing his mind about his own painting in real time, centuries before anyone else would ever see the difference. Then came a discovery that happened almost by accident. Anne Lenders, one of the project's curators, was viewing an unrelated exhibition when she spotted a 1619 drawing by the artist Adrian van der Ven and immediately recognized something familiar. A small, barking dog crouched at the feet of a drummer, nearly identical in head angle, expression and posture to a small dog barely visible in the shadows at the bottom corner of The Night Watch. Both works had actually been sitting in the Rijksmuseum's own collection for over a century, yet no one had ever formally connected them. The scans confirmed it further, showing that Rembrandt's original underdrawing of the dog was even closer to van der Ven's design than the final painted version. Over the following centuries, the paint used for the dog had faded significantly, fading it nearly into invisibility against the darker tones around it, which is part of why generations of viewers walked right past a detail Rembrandt clearly wanted seen. Researchers now plan to restore that section, bringing the dog back closer to how vivid it would have looked the day Rembrandt finished it. There's one more discovery worth mentioning, though it comes from a different Rembrandt work entirely, uncovered the same year restoration research on the Night Watch was accelerating. In 2018, conservators examining a much smaller Rembrandt oil sketch found 2 faint thumbprints pressed directly into the original wet paint along its lower edge. hidden for years beneath old varnish. Experts believe Rembrandt painted the sketch in a single rapid sitting, then picked it up by its edges before it had fully dried, unintentionally leaving behind the only confirmed fingerprints connected to his hand in existence. It's a small, almost accidental proof that a painting isn't just an image. It's a physical object a real person once held. Taken together, these discoveries reshape how we understand Rembrandt, not as a genius who simply produced perfect compositions in one uninterrupted stroke, but as someone constantly revising, second-guessing, and reworking his own decisions, the same way any artist actually works. Nearly 400 years later, the tools finally exist to watch him do it. The Night Watch is still hanging in that same Rijksmuseum gallery today, and if you know where to look now, in the shadows near the bottom of the frame, you can just make out the faded outline of a small dog, still barking silently, waiting almost 4 centuries to be noticed. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Does knowing an artist changed his mind mid-painting make a masterpiece feel more human to you? Or does it take away some of the mystery? I'll be reading your thoughts below. Thank you for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.